that is available, and I'm going to have that PDF. I gave it to our Hans at Argusoog, and he can make it available. If you would like the PDF of this research, contact us or contact me, Dr. John Waterman at argusoog.org, and I'll send you the PDF. It was authored by Henry Nyman and 5 others, and it's available, so just contact me. And it's about the September 28th is when it was accepted, and it was published by Biomed Central, and you can read it if you want to and find out what's going on. I will tell you, published research is behind, of course, everything, because it gets researched, the assumptions and conclusions are reviewed, and if they seem to be valid, then they're published. So it takes, like a month or two for it to even be reviewed. And then it takes, of course, a month or two for it to be written before that. In Romania recently, there's been released from that region where it's next to the Ukraine, that the receptor binding domain changes at the position 225, which is the same one in the Ukraine, has had the same changes to it that are called D225G and D225N. And these are linked to a fatality rate, and I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but when that happens, the death rate is 100%. So, these are pleomorphic changes. Now, as I've already mentioned before, after I went into the research work with training in European biological medicine, the whole focus is the paradigm that Western medicine is wrong, in that Pasteur is wrong, that there are these changes, and they do morph. And so we learned what's called the pleomorphic approach to healthcare. Now, these pleomorphic changes are low at this point, percentage-wise, but there are some concerns because this sequence is becoming more common. Now, a lot of people might say, well, gosh, there's millions out there, it's going to happen. Well, that's what you might think. Romania has reported a recent spike, though, in fatalities. And it is adjacent to the Ukraine, where the death rate from this 225G and 225N change, that's how they name the change, is killing everybody at a rate of 100%. If it was random, that change would just pop up in random locations in the world and not be necessarily adjacent to the location where this fatal change to that bind to H1N1 is occurring. In other words, if you have a fatal change occur in Romania and it's 100% fatal and it's random, well, then maybe you might see it in South Africa. And then you might see it pop up in Mexico and 1 or 2 over here and there. But guess what? No, it popped up in the Ukraine. Well, it's in the Ukraine and it popped up in Romania right next to it. But that's not all. So, how does WHO and the CDC figure into all this? Well, I want you to know it's not just popped up next door to the Ukraine in Romania. Oh, well, that's just a coincidence. Well, guess what? It popped up in Russia on a border town right next to the Ukraine. So we have 2 locations where that same change has occurred that's 100% fatal. So what we're seeing is the fact that this is somewhat indicating the potential that this is a contractable, contagious change that can be acquired. First, this info is not coming, by the way, from the CDC, nor is it coming from WHO, the World Health Organization. WHO, or the World Health Organization, is, however, now stating that this change is due to random mutations, which do not transmit. When was the last time we're going to trust WHO? When was the last time we need to trust even the CDC? Tobias, tell me, should we? I mean, here we are trying to say, okay, well, it's not a problem. Now we're kind of saying, see, I told you so. And finally, the government is nodding their head with us, that it wasn't really a big deal that H1N1 was released. I can guarantee you, number one, if it was the original swine flu and H1N1 was there, no, it wouldn't be much more well, it may not even be any more deadly than regular flu. Just more people contacted it. But what is criminal about it is what you mentioned earlier, that it had been released deliberately. You know what? What would happen, Tobias, if you went to, let's say you went to a walled-in community and you had H1N1, and it wasn't any more deadly than the regular flu, and you deliberately gave it to everybody, but somebody died? What would you be guilty of?
Murder.
Well, at least manslaughter, right?
At least manslaughter. I'd sure be in jail quick.
And that's not talking about a lethal pandemic. We're just talking about normal flu. And that you deliberately gave it to some. I mean, it's kind of like, well, I just hit him over the head a little bit. Well, what happened was because you hit him on the head a little bit, it caused him to stumble, and he fell, and he hit his...
Right, exactly.
And he hit his head on the rock. I'm hearing still... There we go. It's gone. It was really strange. I'm constantly hearing really strange sounds on this. I got a lot of interference right then. But what ends up happening is that, if you cause somebody deliberately a problem and it results in their death, you're going to be at least investigated for contributing to their death. That unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Now, let me back up then. The World Health Organization is now stating that this change is random and the mutations do not transmit. But this research is saying that I've got, which is not CDC, it is not World Health, saying that is not with merit. It is saying that simply it's the WHO is shoring up an outdated paradigm of genetic drift through random mutations. But the sequenced DNA is inconsistent with that kind of explanation. The World Health Organization's focus on a failed paradigm is wrong, while science is backing that H1N1 is changing and is moving toward a catastrophic real pandemic, which we really would have had this been what was originally released. So, how should we use this information? Not knowing really that I've maybe lost somebody with this information, Tobias, just to kind of throw it out there, how would you use this information I just gave you?
Oh, I would have to just continue being prepared. I mean, being prepared is never going to hurt you, and you just have to look at it in that light. I mean, we've got our own research capabilities, and we all check on the internet and see what's going on with the different sites and everything, and there's something fishy in the air.
Yeah, that's a real good way to put it. Although this 225G and this 225N cases have been relatively rare,